What makes someone a bad person? Lying, stealing, cheating? What about organizing a 100-man raid on a funeral? That's right, a freaking funeral. By 2006, World of Warcraft had already become a cultural phenomenon. Magazines, news stations, and even television shows had picked up on the game's popularity and were capitalizing on its massive success. But in-game, WoW was experiencing a significant transition. 6 months after the introduction of Battlegrounds, the WoW PvP community found itself at a defining crossroads. Should the community embrace these instanced BGs at the expense of world PvP, or should attention be called to the massive decline in outdoor conflict that was spurred by the arrival of Warsong Gulch and Alterac Valley? One guild, on the US server Illidan, had an answer. It was a Tuesday, on February 28, 2006, when a young woman known in-game as Phajin had passed away due to the effects of a premature stroke. Wishing to honor their deceased comrade, friends and guildmates of Phajin took to the Realm forums to organize an in-game memorial service for their lost friend. The funeral was scheduled to take place on March 4th in Winterspring, and all those wishing to pay respects to the departed were invited to attend. The event was intended to be recorded and distributed to family members of Phajin to preserve her memory. But unfortunately for Phajin's colleagues, Winterspring was a contested zone, and due to certain players' disgruntlement with the new battlegrounds, one guild decided to use the event to highlight a growing concern within the WoW PvP community. The guild's name was Serenity Now. Arriving mid-service and in true raiding fashion, Serenity Now proceeded to slaughter each and every Horde player attending the funeral. Though technically outnumbered, Serenity had little difficulty in wiping the group, as the majority of those at the funeral had removed their armor in lieu of in-game formal wear to mimic a real-life memorial service. In retrospect, that was probably a bad idea. As the slaughter came to an end, so did the reputation of Serenity Now. Players that had been on the receiving end of the massacre took to the forums to vilify the Rowdy Alliance Guild, highlighting Serenity's flagrant disrespect of a serious real-life tragedy. But instead of bowing to the outrage, Serenity fully embraced its new bad reputation, using the event as a marketing tool for guild recruitment. During an interview with Mr. Internet a little while later, Matt Kement, the guild leader of Serenity Now, verified the guild's non-apologetic stance on the raid, stating that the massacre had been organized for attention. And attention it received. The funeral slaughter sent shockwaves throughout the WoW community, rippling through to the mainstream media, and sparked an interesting debate on the ethics of online behavior. Additionally, it would appear that Serenity Now's actions had reaped results. For the first time since the Battlegrounds' arrival, the community and Blizzard were forced to discuss the waning tides of world PvP. The famous funeral bombing is perhaps the most memorable server-wide event that has ever taken place in an MMORPG. But as I was looking back on this bright spot in WoW's history, I couldn't help but notice a pretty depressing fact. The raid as it was couldn't happen in today's Azeroth. The modern sharding system would have fragmented the raid party and perhaps even the service party, preventing players from interacting with one another in the same game instance. The addition of flying would render such a slaughter impossible, as players would be able to mount up and flee at the first sign of trouble. And finally, the driving force behind the virality of this incident, server community, no longer exists. It's one of the reasons why I'm so excited for Classic WoW to be released. Server rivalries, world PvP, and large-scale battles will become a thing again, and crazy, unpredictable events like Serenity Now's funeral raid will become open possibilities. It's these crazy social experiences that have always led me back to WoW even after I'd exhausted all of the content, and just the idea of being able to experience them again is pretty darn awesome. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you liked what you saw, sub it up and stick around because we got more coming. For more classic WoW news, updates, and content, you can follow me on my Twitter page linked in the description below. If you missed the first episode of the Classic Cast hosted by myself, SFand, and StaySafeTV, I'll leave a link to that video for you as well. Enjoy your day, fellas, and as always, tips out, baby!